I watched that Graham Hancock guy, the guy I like from Joe Rogan, the one who theorizes about the last ice age.
Is he the Gugepli techie or something?
Yeah, yeah, he is. He's got they gave him a Netflix show.
Look at that, and I haven't listened to any of those.
Dude, the Joe Rogan power is strong. Like it got that guy a Netflix show. He's got a big deal Netflix series. It's like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 episodes. There's a lot of archaeologists already just shitting on it and being like, this is blasphemy. And then it's so funny because right off the bat in his show, in his show on Netflix, he's like talking about how archaeology tries to shut him down left and right, talking about how like they don't want, like, mainstream archaeology hates us. At every step they try to befoul us. Or whatever nonsense he says. And he's intersplicing these clips of the Joe Rogan experience and him talking to Joe Rogan, like, in the episode of this show. But it's pretty good. I only watched the first episode. They went to, I don't know, some dirty jungle. And there was this like step pyramid thing made out of these sort of hexagonal rocks that are volcanic in nature, but they must have hauled them 500 miles or something. Seemed like a bunch of horse shit to me, but I was thinking that maybe the future episodes might have some more likely ancient.
That seems fun. And you know what? Like, in the field of archaeology, like if some guy was like, yeah, I'm a mathematician and everybody's doing it wrong, I'd be like, obviously you're a goof because all these other people have their maths. In a field like archaeology, I'm willing to believe this. Like, this guy's at least right on a thing or two. Like, they're archaeologists. Get real. There's so much shit you haven't found. You don't know the right timing. There was a story that came out a couple weeks ago where like a formerly like debunked Roman emperor who was a total myth, they found coins with his face on it, and they were like, okay, he was real. Like, okay, this guy was a real Roman emperor. We just found coins with his face on it. Like, it previously thought to be a myth. Now, like, to think we know like anything, like everything, I guess I would say, like, that's crazy. Of course there's stuff we don't know. There's probably
I really like the idea of those civilizations that predate, like,
that is cool,
you know, the ice age. They go back to, like, I like the idea of, I don't know, people living in giant pyramids with infrastructure and technology, with like mammoths pulling their sleds and like worrying about saber-toothed tigers and shit. Like I like that world. That's a cool world. I've mentioned it before, but there's that awful movie 10,000 BC, and that's the whole premise. It's like Apocalypto, but time shifted
bad
to 10,000 BC. Yeah, if you want to watch a great movie though, that Mel Gibson's Apocalypto is always just the tip of my tongue when I'm recommending things to people.
It's a good movie. I haven't seen Apocalypto. Like, I think I saw it in theaters, and then that was the most recent time I've seen it. Maybe I remember liking it, thinking it was really cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It's really violent. Mel Gibson's,
like, it's about like the Mayans, the Incas.
I get the Mayans and the Aztecs mixed up, but yeah, it's about those South American brown people and how, like, the narrative is that these guys are in like a small tribe and they're getting kidnapped and their village is getting ransacked by the people who live in like the big city where they, you know, sacrifice people to the gods and have those giant pyramids and everything. And so they have to go out in the jungle to the little tribes and grab people for those sacrifices. And you see, not through language, because there's no English. It's all in some ancient dialect, but I don't think there's subtitles, but you kind of just visually learn through the visual storytelling, because Mel Gibson's an amazing director, that this is a failing culture. There is famine, there's disease, and the reason that they're out here hauling all of these people up to be sacrificed is to try to stop it. They're trying to stop the rot that's consuming them from the within. And then you see it at the end that I'll call him the wizard, but you know, the head priest, the astronomer, probably a / astrologer, has been able to predict that there's going to be an eclipse, and he's like giving the king the nod so that he can like pretend like he's the one making the sun disappear. And you can just imagine the power that would create for your leader if you showed up because the boss said he was going to block the sun from the sky today, and you're like, bullshit, we'll show up, do it. And he went, oh, and the sun disappeared.
Oh yeah.
You got
to do what that guy says.
You got to do what that guy says. Like, if you can, like, Jesus, what could he do to me?
Yeah.
Don't say anything about Jesus. He hates that.
He hates that. He does not care for it one bit. Yeah, the Aztecs, like obviously it's like up in the air, but like the amount of people they purportedly sacrificed is like insane. Like thousands of people a year are some of like the lower estimates. Like
Really?
So they said human sacrifice. They were like, it was just another Wednesday.
Gangbusters.
Like they killed
another Wednesday.
They just sacrificed so many people in their, I guess, to their gods or whatever. I don't know anything about like the Aztec religion. Like their
maybe
mythology.
that's why things went so well for them, Taylor.
Yeah.
Well, what Graham Hancock
but you may not know this, Woody. It didn't work out. Like, you may not know this. I think Spain pushed their shit in. Like I think Spain showed up and was like, "Oh, like you guys are in Dark Age." Oh my God, that like like we've had gunpowder for like a real long time. Like
Aztecs are like, man, we should have killed all the inventors.
Yeah, we shouldn't have killed that guy who came up with that really mysterious shining bulb. Like he could have helped it. Like that was like a poor guy in history, the Aztec Ben Franklin. It's like, guys, great news. Then it just cuts to his head bouncing down stone steps.
What's interesting, like the Romans had little steam-powered toys, but they had no concept to industrialize steam power. You know what I mean? Like, and then there's been a lot of discussion. There's a whole YouTube channels that go on about it for hours about could the Romans have been on the verge of an industrial revolution 1,000 years before the real one?
That's totally realistic. Yeah.
Well, they break down a lot of reasons why the empire wouldn't have been able to support such a thing. Something about raw materials.
No, but like if they had stayed, if they hadn't been like invaded by Germanic tribes and all of that.
Well, I mean, eventually, yeah, but they, they already, like, what was to stop them from doing it then and there was the sort of the question. If they already understand steam power and the power of steam because they have these toys and basically like you put water under it and this little thing like walks around and spins and shit. And it's like, if you can do that, you make a steam drill to mine with and like any number of like locomotive type inventions.
Yeah.
Thousands of years or 8,000 years before we did.
Messing up my empires, but didn't the Romans like go into Europe and maybe have the resources they'd need?
It was less about like access to the resources and more about the way their economy was set up, I think. And the way that an entrepreneur would not be rewarded for coming up with a new thing that didn't fit the mold of the empire. It's like, oh, you got a new way of look, everyone does it this way. They'd have been slow to change or it would have been a difficult change. I can't remember exactly how he made sense of it, but it took him an hour and a half and he called himself an historian, so I believed him.
I would trust him. Hour and a half, that's a lot of time. That's
a lot of time. A lot of ad
sounds
revenue.
like a motherfucker who can't explain how to rob a jewelry store.
Yeah. We're like, Larry, tell us about the jewelry store. He's like, let me tell you something about the Incas. The human sacrifice that was going on there makes my crimes look mild. It's like, what are you talking about?
He's so succinct, to the point, and full of rich detail, though, when he talks about like ancient Mesopotamia and their farming and agricultural techniques.
He's just
the silt boys, the silt from the Nile River Delta. You got to understand. You've got 20 million square hectares being condensed there. When it all dries up, it's the richest farmland on this planet.
The Fertile Crescent, they call
the Fertile Crescent.
Yeah, between the Tigris and the Euphrates, the birthplace of civilization.
Taylor, I crossed the Mississippi River today. That shit is like dried up. There's a huge beach. It's like 30 feet lower than it's supposed to be.
Yeah, we've had like a couple days of like sprinkly, gloomy shit, but we have not had big rain in a while, which is unusual around here. Usually we get more.
Do you need rain, or does it rain in like Minnesota or something, and that's where it comes from?
Don't the mountains like melt and feed it? Like, I don't think rain is the problem.
Well, the Mississippi isn't coming from mountains, I don't think. Like, at least in the U.S. From? It's actually a mystery.
Doesn't it? Like is there a water?
I don't know if I should believe.
No, it's actually unknown.
Yeah, the hole in the sky right below Canada.
They kept trying to follow it back to the source, but they get distracted.
They get lost. All right. Well, let me guess where the Mississippi comes from, and I'm going to say it's the Great Lakes.
I bet that has something to do with it.
Yeah, I would guess. So we gotta figure out, where did the Great Lakes go?
Maybe we can solve this.
When's the last time either of you saw one of the Great Lakes?
I've
been a
never
minute for me.
confirmed it. Actually, that's not true. I've been to Detroit, and
Chicago.
been to-
Chicago,
Chicago.
yeah.
Okay, yeah,
That's the
I've seen a
coldest.
couple
That's
them.
one of the coldest like things I've ever felt, was like the wind
wait.
blowing up that fucking lake in Chicago.
Lake
I think
Itasca.
I was
looks
right.
like.
It does seem to originate in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yeah, so
I just-
maybe once they get
Is
more
it-
snow and it melts,
Is it like a
it'll get the
dwarf
river
woman? Does
going.
it just spring out of the ground, or like
She's
where
a
did it-
pier.
In the ground.
No, it really though. Like I followed it up on Google Maps to
Oh, God damn
about
it.
Minneapolis, and it goes to the St. Croix Falls and kind of just starts there. I guess.
Well,
I
don't just
know.
use a map. Ask somebody. On
No,
the
it
internet.
says that Lake. No, you're right, Kyle. It's you're both right. It's from a glacial lake in Minnesota called Lake Itasca.
Oh.
And
Well,
it's
we need to pump some
apparently-
water in Lake Itasca. You know what? I bet it is anywhere.
It's
near
fine.
Flint,
It's such an ugly
Michigan?
river. Mississippi's fine.
Just
like
pump some water into there.
just we need to
The
get this
fill
shit
her up.
moving.
If you're low on water, just pump water from the place.
Yeah, just
Look.
push.
I never heard those people in Flint, Michigan say that they don't have water. All I hear them say is they don't like the water they have. So I say, if you don't like it,
Ingrates.
I hear there's some people in Lake Wannaconka who could use a little water, and maybe we'll
Yeah.
take some of that Flint, Michigan water. And look, the way nature
You know
works,
who else
it'll-
really likes
it'll
clean water?
filter.
The
It'll
Nazis.
filter that dirty water out. It'll clean that water. By the time it gets to Mississippi, it'll be clean. All that Flint filth will have washed out of it.
Probably
Yeah,
sooner than
yeah.
that.
It could be true. I mean, the Mississippi River is disgusting.
Lake Titicaca, that's not a
Well,
real
wait.
place.
If it melts from glaciers, we could just put more glaciers there.
Yeah, but I
Oh.
think that's a big to do.
Easy enough.
Ice machine, dude. Have you seen?
We
like,
could
those
steal a
snow-
glacier from
the-
Canada. They couldn't stop us.
Oh, can you just? Why don't they hook up to icebergs ever and like haul them in like rich guy style and have a good time with them? I would. If I was like a billionaire, I'd do shitty stuff like that. Like oh, you don't you think my private jet's bad for the environment? I'm gonna hook up to the biggest iceberg I can fucking find, fly it to, drag it across the planet to Tahiti, and we're gonna chip the fucking thing off in our drinks while we like, sit on the beach.
You know what I would do if I was like a big old billionaire? I'd be like, all right, I'm prepared to put billions towards environmental safety, cleaning lakes, getting plastic and shit out of the oceans. But we're going to mete out my money, and it's going to depend on cumulative US BMI levels. If I'm doing my part to help eliminate this consumption problem, we all have to reduce consumption. So as soon as average BMI gets down to 30, boom, we're saving penguins. Also, I'm playing hardball. Every day it doesn't get below 30, I'm fucking killing some penguins. Also, let people know that
Penguins in
you're playing for
particular.
real. Yeah. Well, I mean, I picked a likable animal. Like no one would
Can
be
you take
upset if
their
it's like, I'm
babies?
going to, you can, well, you'd have to take their babies possibly. You can control them with an iron fist.
I like
The-
that.
Yeah.
You know, they
that's
get
good.
real upset when I've seen like
People would
where,
get
like-
upset, but think of how many lives. I would be
No,
I'd
the
be the
penguins
biggest
get upset.
lifesaver on Earth.
No, I've
And
seen,
I would
like,
be the
video-
only one exempt from the BMI thing.
Meanwhile,
I mean,
you get bigger
I
and
don't think
bigger.
any of us-
Getting bigger and bigger.
I don't think that calculator works for any of us. No, I've seen where like a shitty penguin will like fuck up and like break their egg or kill their baby or something, and they'll run and kidnap somebody else's baby. But then they'll fucking get bored of it and they'll abandon it. And the
Yeah.
original parent can't find him now because it's not like they left them at the 7-Eleven.
all
They're
look the
penguins.
same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they all look fucking the same.